Imagine waking from a nightmare. A beast with burning eyes is about to kill you. You tell your partner, and they laugh. You ate too many worms. That's exactly what happened to a proud rooster named Chanticleer. But was it just indigestion? Or a deadly prophecy? Welcome to the nun's priest's tale. Hold on, the knight suddenly declared, throwing up a hand. Good sir, no more of this. You see, the monk had been telling our traveling party these incredibly depressing stories, one after another, about great men and women falling from high places into utter ruin. And the knight had finally had enough. He said it was deeply distressing to hear about people who had wealth and ease suddenly losing it all. He said he would much rather hear the opposite, about a poor man climbing up, getting a bit of luck and staying prosperous. Now that was a glad thing to talk about. Our host chimed right in, full of his usual loud cheer. Yeah, by St. Paul's bell, you are totally right. This monk has been talking loud, going on about fortune covered in a cloud and tragedy after tragedy. It is absolutely pointless to complain about things that are already done. Sir Monk, God bless you, but your tale is annoying the whole company. It is not worth a butterfly. There is no fun or game in it at all. Honestly, if it were not for the clinking bells hanging on your horse's bridle keeping me awake, I would have fallen fast asleep and dropped right into the deep mud. Tell us something about hunting instead. But the monk just shook his head, looking a bit sour. No, he said flatly, I am not in the mood to joke around. Let someone else tell a story. So our host turned around with bold, booming words. He looked right at the nun's priest and said, Come here, priest. Come here, Sir John, tell us something that will make our hearts glad. Be happy, who cares if you ride a lean, ugly old horse? As long as he serves you, do not worry about a single bean. Just keep your heart merry. Yes, host, the priest answered cheerfully with a warm smile. If I am not merry, I surely deserve the blame. And right then and there, this sweet, goodly man, Sir John, settled into his saddle and began his tale for all of us. He told us about a poor widow, getting a bit up there in age. She lived in a small, humble cottage right beside a quiet grove, down in a little valley. Ever since the day she became a widow, she had lived a very patient, incredibly simple life. Her income and her goods were vanishingly small. But through careful thrift and a sharp eye she managed to support herself and her 2 daughters. Her worldly wealth consisted of exactly 3 large sows, no more. 3 cows, and 1 rather shaggy sheep named Moll. Her bedroom and her dining hall were thick with black soot, and she ate a lot of very slender, modest meals in there. Believe it or not, she did not know a single thing about spicy or pungent sauces. No dainty, rich morsels ever passed her throat, her diet perfectly matched her little cottage. She never ate enough to get a stomach ache, and her only medicine was a moderate diet, a good bit of exercise, and a contented heart. Gout never stopped her from dancing, apoplexy never hurt her head. She drank absolutely no wine, neither white nor red. Her table was mostly served with white and black, which is to say, fresh milk and coarse brown bread. She always had enough of that, thank goodness. She would also have a bit of singed bacon and sometimes an egg or 2 since she worked hard like a proper day laborer. Now this widow had a yard. It was fenced all around with wooden sticks with a dry ditch running along the outside. And in this yard, she kept a magnificent rooster named Chanticleer. Honestly, in all the land, there was no equal to his crowing. His voice was merrier than the merry organ playing in the church on Mass days. His crowing from his little wooden lodge was more accurate than a fine clock or an abbey timepiece. He just naturally knew, in his bones, exactly when the hour had shifted. Every 15 degrees the sun moved, he crowed, and you simply could not improve upon his timing. He was a remarkably handsome fellow, too. His comb was redder than fine coral, jagged and shaped with little ridges like the top of a castle wall. His beak was black, shining like pure polished jet. His legs and his toes were the color of bright azure blue. His nails were whiter than a fresh lily flower, and his feathers were the brilliant color of burnished gold. This magnificent, gentle rooster had 7 hens under his care. They were his sisters and his lovers, and they looked remarkably just like him in their rich colors. But the one with the fairest throat, the absolute queen of the roost, was named Damosel Pertalote. She was courteous, discreet, easygoing, and highly sociable. And she carried herself so perfectly from the time she was just 7 days old that she truly held the heart of Chanticleer completely locked in her delicate grasp. He loved her so much that he was entirely, wonderfully happy. It was a pure joy to hear them sing together in sweet harmony when the bright sun began to rise. They would sing a popular little tune called, "My Love Is Gone Abroad." Because you see, back in those days, beasts and birds actually knew how to speak and sing. So it happened one morning right at the break of dawn. Chanticleer was sitting on his perch in the hall, surrounded by all his resting wives. The beautiful Pertalote was sitting right next to him. Suddenly, Chanticleer started groaning deep in his throat. He sounded exactly like a man who was being heavily oppressed by a terrible, suffocating nightmare. When Pertalote heard him roar like that, she was terrified. She ruffled her feathers and asked him, "Dear heart, what is wrong with you? Why are you groaning like this? What a terrible sleeper you are, fie for shame." Chanticleer answered her, his voice still trembling. "Madam, please do not take this the wrong way, but God help me, I just dreamed I was in such terrible danger my heart is still pounding in fear. I pray to God this dream comes to a good end and keeps my body out of a foul prison." He took a shaky breath. "I dreamed I was roaming up and down within our yard. And I saw a beast, he looked like a hound and he wanted to grab my body and kill me. His color was somewhere between yellow and red. The tip of his tail and both of his ears were perfectly black, completely different from the rest of his fur. He had a small snout and these 2 glowing, piercing eyes. Honestly, I almost died of fear just from his look. That is definitely what caused my groaning." "Away with you," Pertalote clucked, thoroughly unimpressed. "Fie on you, you coward! Alas, by God above, you have just lost my heart and all my love. I absolutely cannot love a coward. By my faith, no matter what women say, we all just want husbands who are brave, wise, generous, and discreet. We do not want a miser, or a fool, or a man who is terrified of every little thing. And we certainly do not want a braggart. How dare you, for shame, tell your true love that anything could make you afraid? Do you have a magnificent beard but no man's heart? Are you really terrified of dreams? There is nothing but empty vanity in a dream. Dreams are just caused by overeating or drinking too much, or having an imbalance of bodily humors. This dream you had tonight just comes from a huge excess of red bile. That makes people dream of arrows and fire with red beams and red beasts trying to bite them, and little dogs and arguments. Just like the humor of melancholy makes a man cry out in his sleep because he dreams of black bulls or black bears or black devils coming to take him away. I could tell you about other humors too, but I will pass over that as quickly as I can. Look at Cato, he was such a wise man, and did he not say to attach absolutely no weight to dreams? Now, sir, when we fly down from these beams, for the love of God, please take a laxative. On peril of my soul, I promise you it is for the best. You need to purge yourself of that choler and melancholy. I will not let you delay. Since there is no apothecary in this little town, I will personally teach you about 2 herbs that will fix your health right up. I will find them right here in our yard. They will naturally purge you from top to bottom. Sir, do not forget this, you have a very choleric complexion. You need to be careful that the hot sun does not give you a fever or an ague that could literally kill you. For a day or 2, you should eat some nice, plump worms to help your digestion. Then take your laxatives. We will use laurel, centauri, fumitory, or the elderberry that grows right out there. Or maybe some catapuce or gatraberries or the merry herb ivy from the yard. Just pick them right as they grow and swallow them whole. Be merry, husband, do not dread any dream, I have nothing more to say. Madam, Chanticleer said, puffing up his chest a bit, thank you so much for your great teaching. But concerning this Dan Cato and his great wisdom. Even though he said not to dread dreams, you can read in very old books about men of much greater authority than Cato ever was. And they say the exact reverse of his opinion. They have found through sheer experience that dreams are actually real warnings. They are signs of both the joys and the terrible tribulations that people endure in this life. We do not even need to argue about it, the proof is in the experience. One of the greatest authors men read tells this story. Once upon a time, two friends went on a pilgrimage with full good intent. It just so happened they came into a town that was so incredibly crowded and so utterly short on lodging, they could not even find a single tiny cottage to share. So out of pure necessity, they had to part ways for the night. Each went to a different inn. One of them got lucky and found a decent enough room. But the other man was forced to lodge far out in a yard, in an ox stall, right beside the heavy plow oxen. Well, long before the sun came up, the man sleeping in the decent room had a dream. He dreamed his friend called out to him, saying, Alas, I am going to be murdered tonight in an ox stall where I lie. Help me, dear brother, or I will die, come to me in all haste. The man woke up, startled and terrified, but as soon as he was fully awake he just rolled over. He paid it no attention, he figured a dream was just a vain, empty thing. He fell back asleep and dreamed the exact same thing a second time. But the third time, his friend appeared in the dream again. This time he said, I am now slain, look at my bloody wounds deep and wide. Wake up early in the morning and go to the west gate of the town. You will see a cart full of dung, my body is secretly hidden inside it. Stop that cart boldly, my gold is what caused my murder, to tell the truth. And the dead friend stood there with a pale, piteous face, explaining exactly how he was killed. And believe it or not, Pertolote, he found that dream to be completely true. At first light, he walked over to his friend's inn. He went to the ox stall and called out for him. The innkeeper answered right away, looking perfectly calm, and said, Sir, your friend is gone. He left town as soon as day broke. The man instantly grew suspicious, he remembered his dream. He did not delay a second longer, he rushed straight to the west gate of the town. And right there, rumbling along, he found a dung cart heading out to fertilize the fields. It looked exactly like the dead man had described. With a brave heart he started yelling, vengeance and justice for this felony. My friend was murdered this very night, and he is lying right here in this cart, gaping up at the sky. I cry out to the town officials, help, alas, here lies my friend slain. Well, what more can I say? The people rushed out. They dumped the cart on the muddy ground, and right in the middle of all that dung they found the dead man freshly murdered. Oh blissful God, you are so good and true, you see murder will out. We see it day by day. Murder is so loathsome and abominable to a just God that he simply will not let it stay concealed. It might take a year or 2 or 3, but murder will out. That is my conclusion. Right then and there, the town officials grabbed the man driving the cart and tortured him terribly. They threw the innkeeper on the rack too. The pain was so bad they quickly confessed their wickedness, and both of them were hanged by the neck bone. So you see, my dear, dreams are absolutely something to dread. And honestly, in that very same book, right in the very next chapter. I am not joking around here, there is another story. 2 men wanted to cross the sea for a specific reason, heading to a far-off country. But the wind was against them, they had to wait in a very pleasant city right by the harbor side. Finally, one evening the wind shifted. It blew exactly the way they wished. Glad and jolly, they went to sleep, planning to sail incredibly early the next morning. But a great marvel happened to one of them. As he slept right before dawn, he had a wondrous dream. He dreamed a man stood right by the side of his bed, and commanded him to stay put. The man said, "If you sail tomorrow, you will be drowned. My tale is at an end." He woke up instantly. He told his friend exactly what he had dreamed and begged him to delay the voyage. Just for one day, he begged him to stay. But his friend, sleeping in the bed next to him, just started laughing. He mocked him fiercely. "No dream is ever going to frighten my heart," he said. "I am not delaying my business for a dream. I do not give a single straw for your dreamings. Dreams are just jokes and illusions. Men dream about owls and apes all day long. They dream about wild, crazy things that never existed and never will. But since I can see you are determined to just sit here and willfully waste your time, well, God knows I feel sorry for you. Have a good day." And with that, he took his leave and went on his way to the docks. But before that ship had even sailed half its course, I do not know exactly what went wrong or what mishap occurred. But completely by accident, the bottom of the ship tore wide open. The ship and the man plunged straight under the dark water. He drowned right there in full sight of all the other ships that were sailing alongside him on that very same tide. "And because of all this, my dear, lovely Pertalote," Chanticleer said, puffing his feathers again, "you can learn from these old examples. No man should ever be careless about his dreams. Honestly, I am telling you without a doubt, a lot of dreams are something to genuinely dread. Take the life of Saint Kenelm. I was reading about him just the other day. He was the son of Canulphus, the noble king of Mercia. Now, when little Kenelm was just 7 years old, he had a dream. Just a little while before he was murdered, he actually saw his own murder right there in a vision. His nurse explained the whole thing to him. She told him to guard himself well against treason. But well, he was only 7, he did not attach much significance to dreams. He had such a holy, innocent heart, but I swear to God, I would give the very shirt off my back if you had read his legend like I have. And honestly, Dame Pertalote, I am telling you the truth. Think of Macrobius, the guy who wrote down the famous vision of Scipio in Africa. He completely affirmed dreams. He said they are direct warnings of things people will see later on. And furthermore, I beg you to look closely at the Old Testament. Look up Daniel, see if he thought dreams were just empty vanity. Read about Joseph too. You will definitely see that sometimes, maybe not all the time, but sometimes dreams are warnings of things that are going to happen. Look at the king of Egypt, Dan Pharaoh, and his baker. And his butler. Ask them if they felt any significance in their dreams. Anyone who searches through the acts of different realms can read so many wondrous things about dreams. Look at Croesus, the king of Lydia. Did he not dream he was sitting up in a tree? And that simply meant he was going to be hanged. Or look at Andromache, Hector's wife. The night before Hector was supposed to lose his life, she dreamed exactly how it would happen. She saw that if he went into battle that specific day, his life would be lost. She warned him, but it did not do any good. He went out to fight anyway. And he was killed right away by Achilles. But listen, that tale is way too long to tell right now. And day is breaking, I really cannot linger on this. Shortly, my conclusion is this: I am going to face some kind of adversity from this vision. And I will say one more thing, I hold absolutely no value in laxatives. They are venomous, I know that perfectly well, I defy them. I do not love them one single bit. But let's stop all this dreary talk and talk about happy things instead. Madame Pertalote, I am so full of bliss. God has sent me such massive grace in one particular area. Because when I look at the absolute beauty of your face, when I see how scarlet red you are around your bright eyes, it makes all my dread just die away. It is as certain as the beginning of the world, mulier est hominis confusio. Now the meaning of this elegant Latin is simple: woman is man's joy and man's bliss. Because when I feel your soft side next to me at night, even if I cannot actually ride on top of you because our wooden perch is built so terribly narrow, alas, I am still so full of joy and delight, I completely defy both visions and dreams." And with those proud words, he flew straight down from the beam. It was morning, you see, and all his hens flew gracefully down with him. With a little chuckling cluck, he called them all over. He had found a lovely piece of corn lying right there in the dirt of the yard. He was feeling undeniably royal. He wasn't afraid of a single thing anymore. He feathered Pertalote 20 times and he treaded her just as many times, all before the early morning was even over. He looked like a grim, majestic lion. He roamed up and down on his tiptoes. He didn't even deign to set his feet flat on the ground. He just clucked whenever he found a piece of corn, and all his wives ran straight to him, hanging on his every move. He was just acting royal, like a prince in his grand hall. So I will leave this Chanticleer in his pasture for a moment. And now I will tell you about his great adventure. It was the bright, lovely month of May. Exactly 32 days had passed since March ended, the month when the world began and God first made man. Now it just so happened that Chanticleer was out there in all his strutting pride. His 7 wives were walking right beside him. He cast his eyes up to the bright sun. It had run 21 degrees and then some into the sign of Taurus. He knew, just by his own brilliant nature and no other learning, that it was mid-morning. He crowed with a blissful ringing voice. "The sun," he declared grandly, "has climbed up into heaven. 21 degrees and more for sure, Madame Pertalote, my world's bliss. Listen to these happy birds how they sing, and see the fresh flowers how they spring. My heart is completely full of revelry and solace." But suddenly a sorrowful casualty fell upon him, because the latter end of joy is always woe. God knows worldly joy is soon gone, and if a good orator could write it down fairly, he could safely put it in a chronicle as a supreme notable fact. Now let every wise man listen to me. This story is just as true, I promise you, as the book of Lancelot of the Lake, which women hold in such great reverence. Now I will turn back to my point. A coal fox full of sly, creeping iniquity, he had been dwelling out in the grove for 3 long years. And by high imagination he had planned this out. That very night he burst right through the dry hedges into the yard. Straight into the place where Chanticleer the Fair and his wives usually hung out. He crept into a patch of leafy cabbages and lay incredibly still. He waited there until the middle of the morning had passed. Just waiting for his perfect time to fall upon Chanticleer. Just like all homicides gladly do when they lie in wait in the shadows to murder men. "O false murderer, crouching in your leafy den, O new Iscariot. New Ganelon, O false deceiver, O Greek Sinon who brought the entire mighty city of Troy completely to sorrow. O Chanticleer, cursed be the morning you flew from the safety of the rafters into your yard. You were warned perfectly well by your dreams that this specific day was incredibly dangerous to you. But what God foreknows must happen, at least according to the opinion of certain learned clerks. Any perfect clerk will witness that there is a massive altercation and great disputation about this in the universities. 100,000 men have argued about it. But I cannot examine it as thoroughly as the holy Dr. Augustine or Boethius or the Bishop Bradwardine. I do not know if God's worthy foreknowledge strongly forces me by simple necessity to do a thing. Or if free choice is granted to me to do it or not, even though God knew it before it happened. Or if his knowing doesn't constrain me at all, except by conditional necessity. I will not have anything to do with that heavy matter. My tale is just about a rooster, as you can plainly hear. A rooster who took the unwise counsel of his wife and walked out into the yard on the morning after he had that terrible dream I told you about. Women's advice is quite often mischievous. A woman's counsel brought us to woe in the first place and made Adam go from paradise when he was full merry and well at ease. But hey, I do not know who I might displease if I blame women's counsel. So pass over it, I just said it as a gentle joke. Read the old authors who treat this matter and hear what they say about women. These are the rooster's words, not mine. I cannot imagine any harm in any woman. So Pertolote was lying fair in the warm dust of the sand, just basking merrily against the morning sun, with all her sisters close by. And Chanticleer was feeling so free, he sang merrier than the mermaid in the deep sea. Because physiologist says for a certainty that mermaids sing very well and merrily. And it so happened that, as he cast his proud eye among the cabbages to watch a flitting butterfly, he suddenly noticed this fox lying entirely low to the ground. He had absolutely no inclination to crow then, he just cried out cock. Cock, and jumped straight up in the air, like a man terrified to his very core. Because naturally, a beast desires to flee from its enemy if it can see it, even if it had never set eyes on that specific enemy before. This Chanticleer, the moment he spotted him, would have fled. But the fox spoke right up, his voice smooth as honey. "Gentle sir, alas, why will you go? Are you afraid of me? I am your friend. Now certainly I would be worse than any fiend if I wanted to do you harm or villainy. I have not come to spy on your secrets. Truly, the only cause of my coming was just to listen to how beautifully you sing. Because truly, you have a voice as merry as any angel in heaven. You have more feeling in your music than Boethius or anyone else who can sing. My lord your father, God bless his soul, and your gentle mother, they have actually been in my house. It was a great satisfaction to me, and certainly, sir, I would very gladly please you. But since men are speaking of singing, I will say this. As long as I can use my two eyes, I have never heard any man sing quite like your father did in the early morning. Certainly, everything he sang was from the bottom of his heart. And to make his voice even stronger, he would exert himself so much. He would have to squeeze both of his eyes completely shut, he would cry out so loud. And he would stand completely on his tiptoes, and stretch forth his long, slender neck. And he was of such incredible discretion, there was no man in any region who could pass him in song or wisdom. I have read the old verses in Dan Bernal the Ass, about a rooster who gave a priest's son a harsh knock on the leg because the boy was young and foolish. And it made the boy lose his benefice, but there is absolutely no comparison between that and the great wisdom and discretion of your father and his wonderful subtlety. Now sing, sir, for holy charity. Let's see, can you counterfeit your wonderful father? This Chanticleer, completely puffed up, began to beat his wings, like a man who could not espy the treason right in front of him. He was so utterly ravished by the sweet flattery. Alas, you lords, there is many a false flatterer and deceiver sitting right in your courts. They please you much more, by my faith, than the honest man who actually tells you the absolute truth. Read in the book of Ecclesiastes about flattery. Beware, you lords, of their smooth treachery. This Chanticleer stood high upon his toes, he stretched his shining neck and he held his eyes completely closed. And he began to crow loudly for the occasion. And Dan Russell the fox sprang up all at once, he seized Chanticleer right by the throat, and bore him on his back toward the dark wood, because right then there was no man pursuing him. O destiny, you may not be escaped. Alas, that Chanticleer flew from the beams. Alas, that his wife completely disregarded dreams. And all this mischance fell on a Friday too. O Venus, you are the goddess of pleasure. Since Chanticleer was your devoted servant and did everything in his power for your service, more for pure delight than just to multiply the world, why will you suffer him to die on your special day? O Geoffrey, dear sovereign master of poetry, when your worthy King Richard was slain with a shot, you complained so bitterly about his tragic death. Why don't I have your learning and your exact eloquent words right now? I would chide the day of Friday just like you did. Because truly, Chanticleer was caught on a Friday. Then I could show you how well I could lament for Chanticleer's deep dread and for his pain. Certainly, there was never such a cry or lamentation made by ladies when the great city of Troy was won. Not even when Pyrrhus, with his straight sword, grabbed King Priam by the beard and completely slew him, as the Aeneid tells us. The cries weren't half as loud as the ones those horrified hens made in the yard when they caught sight of Chanticleer in the jaws of the fox. But above all others, Dame Pertolote shrieked. She was much louder than Hasdrubal's wife was when her husband lost his life and the Romans burned Carthage. She was so full of torment and rage that she willfully leapt straight into the fire and burned herself with a steadfast heart. "Oh, woeful hens, you cried exactly like the senators' wives cried when cruel Nero burned the city of Rome, and their husbands lost all their lives because guiltless Nero had slain them." Now I will turn to my tale again. The simple, honest widow and her 2 daughters heard these hens crying and making terrible woe. They started straight out the doors at once, and they saw the fox heading rapidly toward the wood, bearing the handsome cock away on his back. They cried out, "Hero in Wellaway, aha the fox!" And they ran right after him, and many another man from the area ran with heavy wooden staves too. Collar Dog ran barking madly, and Talbot and Garland. And Malkin ran with her spinning distaff still right in her hand. The cow and the calf ran, and even the very hogs ran. They were so terrified by the frantic barking of the dogs and the loud shouting of the men and women. They ran so hard they thought their chests would break. They yelled just like the howling fiends do down in hell. The ducks cried out as if men were trying to kill them. The geese flew straight up over the trees out of pure, flapping fear. The swarm of bees came bursting angrily out of the hive. The noise was absolutely hideous, bless us. Certainly, Jack Straw and his rowdy followers never made shouts half as shrill when they wanted to kill a Fleming, as the massive noise made that day upon the fox. They brought out trumpets made of brass and of boxwood, of horn and of hollow bone. They blew into them and they tooted, and with all of that they shrieked and they whooped. It seemed like heaven itself was going to fall right down on their heads. "Now, good men, I pray you listen to me. Look how fortune suddenly turns the hope and the pride of her enemy." This cock lying there awkwardly upon the fox's running back. In all his absolute terrifying dread he spoke to the fox. He said, "Sir, if I were you, I would surely say, 'So help me God, turn back, you proud churls. A genuine pestilence fall upon you all. Now I am come to the safe side of the woods. In spite of you the cock shall abide right here. I will eat him in faith and I'll do it right now." The fox, panting but proud, answered, "In faith it shall be done." And exactly as he opened his mouth to speak the word, all of a sudden, the cock broke nimbly straight from his jaws. And he flew right up high into the branches of a tree. And when the fox saw that the beautiful cock was gone, he looked up and said, "Alas! O Chanticleer, alas, I have done a great offense to you. Inasmuch as I made you afraid when I took you and brought you out of your yard. But sir, I did it with no wicked intent. Come down and I shall tell you exactly what I meant. I shall tell you the absolute truth, so God help me." "Nay then," Chanticleer said, safe on his high branch. "I curse us both, and first I curse myself, both blood and bones, if you beguile me more than once. You shall no longer use your smooth flattery to cause me to sing and wink my eyes closed. Because the man who winks when he should be watching all willfully, God let him never thrive." "Nay," said the fox, shaking his head, "but God give mischance to the man who is so indiscreet of governance that he chatters when he should hold his peace. So look what it is to be reckless and negligent, and to trust in honeyed flattery. But you who hold this tale to be just foolishness about a fox or a cock or a silly hen, take the morality of it, good men, because St. Paul says that all that is written is surely written for our instruction. Take the good fruit and let the empty chaff be still. Now, good God, if it be your will, as my Lord says, make us all good men, and bring us all to your high bliss. Amen." Thank you for listening to this story. Narrated with Aura Reader.